You've got Gavin and Stacey on DVD.
Sarah bought me that.
Really?
Yeah, for Christmas.
So that's because she's seen it and thinks you'll like it, or you like it and she knew you liked it?
I would start... did I watch some of it before she bought it for me? No, I think she said she thought I'd like it, basically. She thought it was brilliant and that I should watch it. And I think it was because I'd never watched The Big Bang. And she told...
Big Bang Theory?
Yeah. And she told me about The Big Bang Theory, so I started watching it. And I got into it, and because I got into it, she thought, oh, if he likes that, then maybe like Gavin and Stacey as well. Don't know.
I've tried Gavin, because it's always on BBC 7 something.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got more than 10 minutes into an episode. It seems really good.
Yeah,
maybe you need to, and I don't know the characters and stuff is happening. Yeah. It's always halfway through. Yeah. So maybe you need to see it from the start.
Yeah, I would say so. It's humorous. There are quotable lines. There are good characters, and it's Bryn. And what's her face? I can't remember her name now. The one who wrote it. James Corden and Ruth.
Something it's his sister, isn't it? What's her face? Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's not his sister.
Isn't she his sister in real life?
Oh, I don't know.
I think so.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that. Anyway, yeah, it's Bryn and her. They're the two characters which are quite memorable. Gavin and Stacey are actually quite boring, and so is James Corden's character. Gavin.
Right. I picked that up straight away. There's two really boring characters.
But the Welsh contingent are really quite funny. Barry Island.
Oh, right, okay. Barry. I've been there quite a lot.
We've also got The Office, look.
Yes, The Office is very good. Did you know that The Office is good?
What's happened to Ricky Gervais?
Well, he's just too well off. And he said himself, the only thing he's really worked hard on in his life is The Office. Yeah. And he can't be bothered to, he just has makes ridiculous TV shows with, what's his name?
Well, he's not working with Stephen Merchant anymore.
No, I don't mean Stephen Merchant.
Carl Pilkington.
Yeah, I mean,
Why they're not working with him?
I think the reason why they don't work together anymore because Stephen Merchant says, right, let's write something really good. Let's sit down, and he just can't be asked. I just want to mess around with Carl Pilkington. It's funny. Just laugh at him, which is really entertaining, actually. Yeah. That's very typical, isn't it, of British comedians? It's like there's just too much effort.
Well, I could imagine. From Stephen Merchant's point of view, Stephen Merchant is the perfectionist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ricky Gervais messes about.
Ricky Gervais messes about. And because Ricky Gervais was the face of the comedy...
Yeah, he's the one...
He was the one that made all the money.
Yeah, The Office by Ricky Gervais.
And when you actually look at... I watched his... what's it on Netflix? Humanities or something like that?
Oh, his stand-up.
Yeah. It's all right.
It's like he's doing it for a laugh. You can tell it's just
for a guy who's not a professional stand-up or wasn't a professional stand-up, just decided to do it one day.
Well, yeah,
after extras and whatnot.
As good as all those average stand-ups who do those massive tours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a clip of the young, boring comedian. He's young and he says Nando's all the time. I don't know his name, but and he's playing to a stadium, and it's like they get loads of them all at once, don't they? So it's kind of like, was it Shoot the News?
Mock the Week.
But without the Mock the Week, just...
I got really sick of Mock the Week.
Well, the problem with Mock the Week was far too much. It was like 20 series in 2 years.
And actually, the comedians on there weren't...
Well, that's the idea is bland. The blander comedians they get, the more viewers they're going to get.
Yeah.
They're not going to get some weirdo from Edinburgh.
What's his face established himself on there, didn't he? Flipping out, we're not doing very well here for memory.
Frankie Boyle.
Frankie Boyle, yeah.
No, I write Frankie Boyle.
I do now. I didn't then. At the time, I just thought he's just saying offensive shit. Let's sit down and think of the most offensive, nasty shit I can say.
So horrible.
He's got no wit or anything like that. But actually, now, I find him quite witty.
In context.
Yeah. He's sort of... I think he's...
Because he was a writer and somehow ended up on the show.
Yeah.
That was the thing. So he was actually writing it. But obviously Mock the Week is pre-written. It's not a real...
Yeah.
It's not like, have I got news for you? which you need serious razor sharp. Or you did when he was good.
Yeah.
It's all pre-written, so they're shouting their material at each other, trying to shout over each other. And, you know, and there's always one woman on there who can't get a word in. And all the men shouting.
Well, I just thought there's been quite a few people who've made names on Mock the Week who've gone on to have careers, and they're really, really quite
bland,
boring. You know.
Well, it's middle of the road stand up. It isn't really any different from your 70s. Darts playing men's club comedian.
Frank Butcher.
Is that Frank? Isn't Frank Butcher in EastEnders?
Yeah, but he was like one of those comedians. What was his name?
Yeah, and the famous racist one, and all them, you know, crap comedians basically. Jim Davidson.
Yeah.
Rubbish. So, and that the banality is there. They're just without the racism and whatever. Not much difference really.
Yeah.
Because it was you know it's where's me washboard? It's just repeating repeating phrases, and he just goes, so where's the best place to take your girlfriend on a date? And the whole audience said Nando's because that's his catchphrase. It's just Nando's. It's not a catchphrase. It's just Nando's.
I mean, we're just going to end up at Stewart Lee, aren't we?
We're going to end up at Stewart Lee, yeah, because he's actually...
Oh mate.
Oh mate. Oh mate. Oh, you must. Stewart Lee's a mate. I mean, he milked basically one concept. Stewart Lee, really, he got one concept that's so good, and just did that over and over again for about 10 years.
Yeah,
probably 15 years.
Yeah. Right, it all kicked off on that Channel 4 series, yeah. And I watched. No, it was a program. It was a top 50 comedians or something like that. Channel 4 was doing loads of these, like top 50 horror movies, top 50 sci-fi, you know, yeah, and it was top 50 comedians, yeah. And I watched it, and they came up with Stewart Lee, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember him. And I think Lemon Jelly came straight to mind.
Oh, Jelly,
yeah. Rod Hull.
I am Rod Hull. I am him.
That popped straight to mind.
You're the moon on a stick.
Yeah.
That's Fist of Fun, by the way, if you didn't know. That's when they were young, with the other guy who's not very funny.
And watch it. And then there was all these comedians queuing up saying, "Oh, he's so funny. He's absolutely. If you get done by Stewart Lee, you know you've made it," sort of thing. I was like, "Is he a thing? Is he still a thing? Was he with that really boring person, Richard Herring?
Yeah.
A bit of Lean Herring. And from that point, he just milked it completely. He wasn't even a touring stand-up when that program came out.
51st best stand-up or something. Yeah. And he wasn't a stand-up.
He'd sort of knocked stand-up on the head. He'd done that Jerry Springer the musical.
Yeah, the opera. Yeah, Jerry Springer.
That was it, the opera, and then got that bit of coverage and then turned it into a career.
I mean, that obviously it's a different thing you could talk about, but I mean, briefly, that whole thing of offence and how people were looking for because that's offensive. Right, I've got to watch it and look for things that are offensive. Oh, he's saying Jesus wore a nappy, and he wasn't wearing. He was what he was wearing was the genuine thing they would have worn at the time, apparently. But it wasn't what it's not the famous pictures that don't look like it. Basically look like sort of 800 AD Arabic clothes. It's not what they wore at all. So, but look, he's wearing nappy. Look, offensive. Look, that's the thing that people are looking for offence. And he says he took out of that he doesn't. Okay, I don't really want to offend people. So he did take it seriously and look for something sort of coming out of that. In that people find me really annoying. I'm really annoying. I'll do that more. It's really funny. But it's a character. This is irritating, right on, arrogant comedian. When what's his name? Gavin and Stacey guy who wrote it.
James Corden
Sort of saying how great Stewart Lee was, and he was saying, "You listening to me? It's like a dog listening to classical music." Fantastic.
Yeah.
And it comes meta, when he says he's talking about the character Stewart Lee as another character in the stand-up where he's being the character Stewart Lee. So there's at least 3 different characters there.
Well, what are we going to do now that he's not touring and he's taking a hiatus? again.
It looks like he's drawing a line under that because he's done it, and it is only one idea. It's just so good, you know. And when he starts talking to the audience, see this area of the audience, they get it, but up here, it's like, oh, should we go and see this guy? I've never heard of him. It's not very good, is it? And yet he's had genuine reviews. There was the Telegraph guy, wasn't there?
Was there?
Who we think wasn't in on it, who genuinely said, well, it kind of lost his way in the middle. As if it genuine. Really? So obviously Stewart Lee just milked that to death for a couple of years. And we nicked his thing of you know, he put up quotes from bad quotes about him. I can't remember, what was it the Daily Mail said, and he had it as a big quote on his poster. My futile attempt to sell satire to the Daily Mail by Stewart Lee. There it is, yeah, the Telegraph guy. Why I walked out of a Stewart Lee gig. A slime pit of bitterness. That was for a mushy stew about nothing. Why is it a slime pit of bitterness? So they feel that's really interesting. It actually is interesting, isn't it? They feel he's genuinely targeting them by satirising himself. That must be what they're thinking.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I think it's a sort of... I don't know.
Is it really? It doesn't mean anything.
I think it's the fact that they can't criticise him. He's sort of like... inbuilt into his humour is the defence from the kind of criticism that they would make about him.
Yeah, because he's having to go at himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, it isn't satire. It isn't anything. That's the thing. It's just silly. It is just silly. And it's just genius silly. Yeah, and I think he will remember it as this one of, you know, as good as, you know, Richard Pryor and the Scottish guy that we were watching.
Billy Connolly.
Yeah, Billy Connolly. Yeah, we were watching. You know, he's in The Hobbit. He's the other king.
Yeah.
Dwarf, and I can't remember his name. And all that. He'll be remembered by those people, I think, as a truly great one. And then people will find clips of This Morning with Richard Not Duty and think,
what?
It's all right.
Yeah.
If you're watching it on the telly, it'd be okay, but we'll watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, that was so... I mean, all of that, the Fist of Fun, This Morning with Richard Not Duty. Was it a bit of Liam Herring?
There's Fist of Fun.
Yeah.
And there's This Morning with Richard Not Judy.
There's only two, okay.
Yeah.
They were all right. You know, there was bits. And actually...
Good 90s humour, good.
Yeah, but what they had on there was good. They had talent working with them. So the guy who did Rod Hall.
Oh, yeah. Kevin Eldon.
Kevin Eldon's
brilliant.
Yeah, Simon Quinlake. I mean, he is the classic.
Yeah.
My weak lemon drink.
Kevin Eldon, you can track down his comedy. He had his own show, which was only on once, and that was it. And it's like I got the impression he just felt like doing it, and that's it. You know, he could do if they would let him make more if he wanted to. And that's worth tracking down. I thought it'd all be really dark characters and heavy acting of like almost League of Gentlemen, but it's not. It's like surreal and really, really good. So he's brilliant as well. But yeah, none of that is as good as Stewart Lee.
No.
And I love the way when he develops the humour over time. No, so he talks about that. Honestly, part of the routine is talking about the fact that he's developing it. It's almost like that's part of the humour. The fact that he develops it over time. And so he'd had the joke, Paul Nuttles of the UKIPs. I can't remember what it was, something about cat litter or something, just nonsense. But then when we saw it, by that time, it'd become Jeremy Corbyn. It didn't matter. Does it make a difference? It's brilliant.
I like the well, in the last show it was about Brexit Britain, wasn't it, and how that had scuppered his show.
Yeah,
the whole theme for his show
because he doesn't know what's going to happen, so he can't plan it ahead.
Yeah.
But actually, he had Carpet Remnant World. You know, it was just bits and pieces because he wasn't able to put a show together. But that's the joke. So yeah, you should see Stewart Lee. The problem is that if we do this video, we need to recommend particular sketches, and it's very difficult. I mean, Top Gear was amazing at the time, but he surpassed that.
Top Gear's moved on,
and it's very specific as well, isn't it? You know.
Something about it. It just hit the nail on the head with Top Gear. As someone who enjoys Top Gear.
Yeah, and he had to have actually been on the program. He's been on the program. The problem is you can't find that, because if you search for Stewart Lee Top Gear, you'll get his stand-up routine. And the you've got the comment sections. People offended, right? As if it's real, even though at the end he says this is a disclaimer. just to avoid some serious exchange of emails, just tell you now.
But
satirising what they're. But really, he's not satirising anything.
I'm using the implied values of the show to satirise the show.
Which is that's actually the punchline, isn't it? That's before we finish. That's the recent one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that was on BBC, wasn't it? They showed the full show on BBC.
Yeah, he's part of the show. The joke was that he stopped. They wouldn't let him. He said they cancelled his TV show. I'm sure he'd just decided to stop actually, and then they asked for him back again to do a special. Anything about immigrants or anything like that. Oh, he sort of does quotes of people ranting about it, and there's a whole routine in it where he just repeats. He does the thing where he repeats. Did you know that if you say you're English these days, you get arrested and thrown in jail? And he just keeps saying it. And at the end, he admits he just made it up. Nobody ever said that. And it was Alan. The last show he did, because he always has the TV shows. He has these little clips of him being interviewed by somebody, where he sometimes he's actually just himself, and sometimes he's the character.
Yeah,
and being really. And the interviewing doesn't always just slag him off.
Yeah,
it's more subtle than that. Asking him questions about the show, and the last one was Alan Moore.
I mean, you had some heavyweights doing that. It was Armando Iannucci, Chris Morris.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Morris
That's
doesn't.
Another genius.
Yeah, show he's in above the parapet for nothing. Yeah. And then Alan Moore, who is famously sort of quite.
Well, yeah. If you read comics, he's God.
Well, he's just reticent to do anything that he doesn't see as some form of artwork or something like that.
Yes.
He's quite.
Alan Moore is like a purist, isn't he?
He is a proper purist.
Oh yeah, internet comments. Here we go. He has a piece of paper and reads them out. He says there's like 4 of them. But in the end, he says I made up 2 of those. Oh, actually, I mean, Stewart Lee destroys a heckler in Brighton, which is a genuine, spontaneous. The heckler in the last show wasn't real because it was in the one that was the same as the one we were at.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a real heckler in Brighton, 2015. That's really good because it's really funny. And he's genuinely saying, I can't change the show now. Well, no, really, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, because he understands genuinely that people are paid and it's difficult and you have to get babysitters and things to get into the show. I can't change it now. That's really funny. And yet he's genuinely just saying, yeah, sorry. Meta humour, isn't it, really? That's the best way to describe it. Stuff about Islamophobia is brilliant. When he talks about his Muslim wife, who's made up, who's imaginary, and an imaginary Irish wife as well. Basically, he's got all the imaginary wives of different nationalities. Yeah, because he's a big fan, isn't he, of quite what are considered sort of hardcore comedians.
Yeah,
that never made it big, kind of thing.
Alternative comedy, isn't it?
Proper alternative comedy, not the stuff, not Channel 4, because that's not alternative. You're about as alternative as Channel 4. Which brings us on to the young ones, and so we end the video. Thank you very much.